CDL is in town. Cerberus, what's good?
Well, moving on from mac and cheese, Major One was played this weekend where teams were competing for their hopefully best placement for the first major tournament of this year. After last season's dominance by Atlanta FaZe, which saw them win the majority of games and completely stifled out the competition, teams set their hopes to make it a more competitive year this year. 18 games were on the cards, and here's what we saw. In day one, it kicked off with the Los Angeles Guerrillas facing off against the London Royal Ravens. Ravens have played well so far, but with experience and talent on LAG, it promised to be a good match. 5 games needed to be played to decide, but London proved they were the stronger of the two teams at the moment, at least. And LAG were forced down to the lower bracket with their hopes hanging in the balance to find some space in the tournament.
Winners, London had a team KD of 0.99, with Nasty being nasty boy, leading with a 1.15 KD. LAG had a team KD of 1.0.
Not bad. In match 2, the Boston Breach took on the Goliaths of Atlanta FaZe, led by Snoop Dogg now. Even though Boston's hopes were high with the young guns of Capsule and Nero, they were not able to match up against Simp and Abizi. And Simp showed he's still in his prime form, leading the charge for Atlanta. FaZe ended up taking the match after just 3 games.
The winners, FaZe, had a team KD of 1.14, with Simp absolutely dominating the lobby with a 1.75 KD, going plus 41. Boston's team KD was 0.87.
Wow. In match 3, it was much more of a nail biter, with Toronto Ultra taking on the Los Angeles Thieves. LA were able to take the hard points, being the best hardpoint team in the league so far this season. But Ultra found the search and destroy and control through the first 4 games. However, it all came down to game 5 of S&D. Ultra proved they were stronger, at least in S&D. And in that mode, they were able to take the win.
The winners, Ultras, team KD was 0.99, with Insight leading his team with a 1.13 KD, and LAT's team KD was 1.0, with Envoy leading the lobby with a 1.19 KD.
In the last match of the day, Optic Texas, Optic Eyeglasses, if you're remembering our last couple of videos, took on the Seattle Surge. Seattle have been crowd favorites so far this year, but the Green Wall fan base is nothing to trifle with. Riding on the fans' presence, Optic were able to take this match in just 3 games. Everyone played well for Optic. Even though Illy went net negative in the match, he did prove to show up in those crucial moments. Seattle's struggles, though, continued, slipping them into the elimination side of the bracket for the tournament.
Winners Optic team KD was 1.08, with Dashi popping off with a 1.37 KD. Seattle's team KD was 0.91.
And moving on into the next sets of matches, on March 4th, it brought us the first full-blown elimination games of the tournament, and it promised to have some banger matches. The first up was the Minnesota Rocker against the LA Guerrillas. With the talent on LA, many thought that this would be a closer match, but Rocker blew the Guerrillas out of the water across 3 maps. It only took him 3. Slasher of LAG had one of the worst matches of his career, going -22 through the series, and it led LAG to being the first team eliminated from the tournament.
Winners, the Rockers team KD was 1.16, with Attach crushing it, leading the lobby with a 1.36. LAG's team KD was 0.85.
The next match brought the New York Subliners facing off against the Los Angeles Thieves. Subliners have been struggling all year and have not been able to find their footing at all. And it was more of the same from New York in this one. And it was against one of the best teams in the league, the LA Thieves. Thieves brought the thunder and were able to take the series in just 3 games, sending New York home from the tournament. Envoy led for LA, going basically 1.5 in the series, and displayed he has the tenacity to be one of the best in the year, one of the best in the league this year in that sub role.
The winners, LAT's team KD was 1.09, with Envoy leading, as Cerberus stated. New York's team's KD was 0.91.
In match 3, it had more promise of being a contest, with Boston Breach taking on the Florida Mutineers. Maps were back and forth through the first 4 maps, with each going the opposite way than the match before. It went Florida, Boston, Florida, Boston. It all came down to map 5, where it took 10 rounds to crown the winner. Boston was the team able to do so, with Methods clutching that last round.
The winners, Boston, their team KD was a 0.85. Even though Florida didn't win, Florida's team KD was 1.15, with Awakening completely awake with a 1.61 KD, going positive 45.
One little caveat, it kind of looked like he was slay whoring in that game. I'm not going to lie. Maybe he just needed to finesse around the map more. So hopefully he gets more involved in a more productive way. Anyways, moving on to
Get
the
more
next
woke.
match. Get more woke. Yeah. Moving on to the next match, we saw the Paris Legion take on the hot commodity of Seattle Surge in match 4. It turned out to be one of the strangest matches so far this year, as Paris had not won a match yet this season, and Seattle has been touted as one of the top teams. Despite Seattle being such a big name in the game this year, Paris came out to be the top dog. Sib and Pred of Seattle had a great map 1, but after that, it was not spectacular at all. From what we've seen of Seattle so far, their success has been dependent on them for the team to win. And since they didn't have strong showings, Paris pulled out in spectacular fashion a win that eliminated Seattle from the tournament.
The winners, Paris's team, KD was 0.95, with the newest member being Gravity having the best KD of 1.13. Very clear that he was a very important piece that was missing from Paris. Seattle's team's KD was a 1.04.
Oh, yeah. And then in the last match of the day, it brought us LA Thieves versus Minnesota Rocker. I personally expected this series to be far closer than it ended up being, with LA Thieves able to take it after just 4 maps. Even though Minnesota did take map 2 of the in Search and Destroy, LA was able to take it very comfortably in the other 3 modes. With that loss, Minnesota got sent home from the tournament.
Winners, LA Thieves team KD was 1.04. Rockers team KD was 0.96, with Attach dominating the lobby with a 1.23 KD.
Saying his name a lot. The fifth started off with the Boston Breach taking on Paris Legion, with both teams riding high off their wins from the day prior. The crowd seemed to be supporting Paris on map 1, where Paris was able to narrowly take it with a scoreline of 250 to 241. However, the next 3 maps did not prove to be so kind. Nero hit a new form for Boston, with his teammate Methods starting to fit into that in-game leader role for the squad. The search and destroy, control, and second hardpoint seemed to suit Boston, which gave them the advantage and secured them the victory, and completely dashed Paris's hopes of moving further into the tournament. So they had to go home empty-handed.
The winners, Boston, their team KD was 1.09, with Nero taking the lobby with a 1.26 KD. Paris's team KD was 0.91.
In the next match, Toronto Ultra took on the London Royal Ravens. Based on standings from last year, the Ultras should have taken this match very easily. However, London proved that they have leveled up and become a commanding squad that is not to be messed with. They did so here in this match, with London taking it in a 3-1 fashion. Ultra have not looked like themselves this year, stumbling heavily in hardpoint, where the Royal Ravens took both and the series.
The winners, London's team KD was 1.09, with 0 going to Hero, bringing up a 1.38 KD. Toronto's team KD was 0.92.
Nice. Side note, I heard Trey talking on Trey Zero talking on stream. Apparently, he had a new pair of AirPods riding on this tournament. His coach promised him that if he played well, he would buy him a new set of AirPods because he had somehow lost his.
So he needs treats, and he'll do great.
Apparently,
I feel that. Give me treats, I'll do great too.
In the middle match of the day, it was one of the biggest matchups this tournament. Optic Texas took on Atlanta FaZe, where both teams had not matched up on LAN in 993 days, which meant this match was not to disappoint. Atlanta FaZe quickly took a 2-0 series lead through the first 2 maps, where FaZe silenced the crowd in front of Optic's home turf. Simp and Abizi were both like saying hush to the crowd and stuff. However, after the mid-match break, Optic came out and turned things around. They were able to win the next 3 maps and complete the reverse sweep in the series. This knocked FaZe into the lower bracket, where they would have to battle back.
I just feel like a bobblehead over here, just constantly. Winners, Optic, their team KD was a whopping 1.10, with Dashi being absolutely insane, bringing a 1.42 KD to his team. FaZe's team KD was shockingly 0.90.
That is a surprising stat to hear from FaZe.
From our last season's champs.
Oh, yeah. And in the second to last match of the day, Toronto Ultra took on the Boston Breach. Boston was hopeful that they could take this match, given Ultra not doing so hot in the hard points, but it was the only game mode that they were able to take off the Ultra. Ultra ended up being able to take the series off of the Breach, taking the series through the 2, 3, and 5 game modes of Search and Destroy and Control. With that result, Ultra moved on to Championship Sunday, and Boston went home with a top 6 finish.
The winners, Ultra, their team KD was 0.97. Boston's team KD was 1.03, with Methods carrying the lobby with a 1.27. We seem to be mentioning his name a lot with Boston.
True. Very, very true. And then in the final match of the day, the Los Angeles Thieves faced off against the Atlanta FaZe. LA came out and took an early 2-0 series lead, looking poised to knock FaZe out of the tournament. By this point, FaZe had dropped 5 maps straight, very unFaZe like, and did not look like their normal selves. However, coming into map 3, FaZe turned it around in the control, taking it 3-1. They carried that momentum and took the last 3 maps of the series. FaZe moved on to Championship Sunday, trying to battle their way back through the lower bracket, while FaZe went home with a top 6 finish.
The winners, FaZe, their team KD was 1.11, with Celium taking this lead with a 1.41 KD. LA Thieves team KD was 0.90.
And then to start off Championship Sunday on the 6th, the London Royal Ravens were up against Optic Texas. This was the upper bracket final where the winner could go on to grand finals. Not could go on, would go on to grand finals. London came out hot and smoked Optic on the Berlin hardpoint with a scoreline of 250 to 178, which many think this was a preference to take Berlin to kind of expand their map pool. But anyways, however, everything was flipped on its head after that, where Optic took a perfect search and destroy, taking it 6-0 on Berlin, and a perfect control on Gavitu 3-0. It all came down to map 4 if London hoped for a shot at the grand finals through the upper bracket. However, Optic were just too strong and took it on Tuscan hardpoint.
Husking that corn.
Husking that corn. Tuscan hardpoint to advance to grand finals, where they waited to see who they were going to have to play. This was Optic's first grand finals appearance in a major tournament since Las Vegas 2018 back in Black Ops 4. And it was their first in the CDL era.
The winners, Optic, their team KD was a crazy 1.19, with Dashi taking the lobby lead again with a 1.55 KD. London's team KD was a rough 0.84.
In the next match, it was an elimination game, and it had tremendous promise with the number 1 and number 2 teams from last year. It was Atlanta FaZe taking on the Toronto Ultra. However, the promise was not to be fulfilled. Toronto lost all their hard points this tournament, and it continued here. They relied on the search and destroy and the controls to win, but FaZe denied them their modes. Therefore, Ultra went out from the tournament not with a bang, but with a whimper. And FaZe moved on to the lower bracket finals.
Winners, FaZe, team KD was 1.13, with Celium again being the standout here with a 1.36 KD. Toronto's team KD was 0.88.
Starting to see a trend. And then in the lower bracket finals, FaZe took on the Royal Ravens. In this match, FaZe looked like they were on a revenge tour, except for an exceptional search and destroy comeback from London. FaZe controlled the entire match. London are showing promise for the rest of the year, placing top 3 in this tournament, but FaZe are still doing FaZe things.
The winners, FaZe again, their team KD was 1.16, with Celium again taking all the attention with a 1.49 KD. London's team KD was only 0.86.
And then in the grand finals, It promised to be an absolute banger with Atlanta FaZe taking on Optic Texas. Optic had not appeared in a grand final in years, while FaZe had come in as top dogs and everyone expected them to win, understandably. With a best of 9 on the cards and no advantage for the team coming out of the upper bracket, also called winners bracket, there was a chance for anyone to win and to show out. The first 3 maps went back and forth, with Optic taking a 2-1 series lead. From there, though, the next 4 maps showed who was the better team in this tournament. With only dropping 1 more map, Optic showed complete dominance of FaZe, which won them the tournament and the $200,000 prize pool. With not winning a major tournament in years, Optic's reaction was one of pure elation after the win.
The winner, Optics Team KD, was a positive 1.05, with Illy showing out a big 1.17 KD. FaZe's Team KD was 0.94. Personally, I am stoked to see the fan favorite Optic finally stepping up, with this being their first finals played since 2018, as you stated. But already, speaking of Call of Duty, anything with Warzone this past week? What do we got?
Glad you mentioned it. And yes, there was. Boom TV is actually hosting a $100,000 Warzone tourney that will take place the entirety of March. It is a tournament that sees 32 of some of the best duos in Warzone going head to head in 3 qualifiers, where winners will receive their share of a $15,000 prize pool, and then a final event where the top 8 teams will go head to head to see who will win the big prize of $50,000. This week, Tommy and Allman played from the back foot, which saw them give away maps to other teams due to team issues. Therefore, it left room for other squads to rise to the top. This week, Aiden and Z Smith rose to the occasion and secured the first qualifier win and an $8,000 cash prize. Brolic and Exact came in second with a $5,000 win, and third was Rated and Sage, who took home $2,500.
Aiden has won a bit of tourneys as well. I'm interested to see who will dominate this one. What you got for PUBG?
PUBG had the conclusion to their ESL Phase 1 Masters, where teams were competing for their share of the $50,000 prize pool. Last week, Shoot to Kill and Bing Bang Boom were in the top 2 spots, but only by a narrow margin. However, the 2 other top teams had something to say about it. E United came out hot and took 4 top took 4 first place finishes out of 15 games played over 3 days. Shoot to Kill kept up their pace, but it was not enough to match E United, as STK was only able to win 1 game and 4 second place finishes, which was enough to get them second place in the tournament, but not to overtake the performance of E United, who took first overall. Sonics and Bing Bang Boom did well as well, funny statement, but only enough to take third and fourth place.
United and Shoots to Kill were so close, with only a 5-point total difference, which is so close. But nice payday either way.
It was a nice payday for them.